Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 1836 Property Management in Austin, Texas. One of the questions we frequently get from our prospective owners or investors is about the repair limits. And so we want to create a short video to kind of go over why the repair limits are where they are, how that affects you, and the back end story on that so that you can better understand the perspective. We've got about 5 points to go over today. First one of those is going to be whether or not we have a reason to actually create maintenance. A lot of owners come into the management agreement and say, well, I'm giving you authorization to handle, $250 or $500 or $1,000 worth of maintenance. And oh my goodness, what happens if the next month all of a sudden you just repair everything? Well, the good news is that if it needs to be repaired, then we're going to repair it. If it doesn't need to be repaired, everything is handled by independent vendors. And to be real honest with you, we've got a lot going on in the office, and we don't really want to go around and create work. We've got plenty to keep us busy. So we don't go looking for repairs. We do seek those when it's move in, move out time, as well as anytime the tenant presents us with a problem, we want to deal with it proactively. The failure to do so is going to end up giving you a property back in 10 years that's not well maintained, which is not an option. So if there is something to deal with, we're going to deal with it, but we certainly don't go and look for repairs to create. That's just not really worth the benefit, not something we have time to do, nor something that is ethical. So we don't do that. Second thing I would say is that we don't upcharge on maintenance. And so while it is completely fair for some management companies to charge 10%-ish on any service that is required on your property, we at 1836 don't upcharge on that maintenance. So if you have a $350 repair and we send out a vendor, we increase our labor and oversight, and that costs us money. And so the more maintenance you have, the more it actually costs us to oversee that maintenance. Believe it or not, it takes a lot of time to go back and forth with vendors and tenants to ensure that things are done, not including the billing cycle as well and payments, which cost us to send out checks. So creating maintenance for your property managed by 1836 is actually something that costs us money, not something that makes us money. So there's no incentive for us to do such. There is a moral and ethical incentive for us to properly maintain your property, which is the long-term goal. Next thing I would say is that we have a fiduciary responsibility to every owner. So by state law in Texas, by the grace of the state, we are licensed. And the state says is that we put our clients' priorities ahead of our own, whether we're getting paid or not. And so we have a responsibility to serve your best interest. If your best interest is to have the gutters cleaned because they haven't been cleaned in 2 years and they're rotting, then that's something we're going to deal with. If your stove is only a year old, it's got a single scratch on it, but it's operating wonderfully, there's absolutely no reason to worry about it until there is a problem. And so we'll kind of proactively look for things that could create bigger problems, like a lack of seal or grout in showers can create water problems behind the wall, and we'll proactively look for those and try to head them off. But when it comes to things like just manufacturing repairs, it's not something that's legal for us to do either. Another thing is that the vendors that we send out are all independent companies. And so whether it's appliance repair, HVAC, electric, plumbing, these are independent companies in Austin. And so when we send those guys out to the property, they are licensed as well in their trade, and they're going to turn in a receipt. And if that receipt says there was nothing wrong, we've got a problem if there's a trip charge on there, because you're going to question why it was there. A lot of times those trip charges go to tenants if they've requested repair on something that is functioning as intended. And so you have the right at any point in time to contact the vendor directly. A lot of the vendors will let you speak with a technician that was on site and give you further insight. Sometimes we have clients that are really detailed on, is this capacitor, this amperage or something, and it's beyond any property manager's knowledge and really takes an HVAC repairman or electrician. So we want you to be in touch with those guys. Speak about it directly with the person who may know those minutia and details on that particular incident. But you've always got the ability to see copies of the invoices as well as speak to the vendors directly. And those are independent, reputable vendors. So they're not going to go out and manufacture repairs either. They're going to do true items that need repair or give us feedback if not, so that we have a good working relationship with them. Next question is, why is the repair limit always set at $100, $250, $500, $1,000? Why is it what it is? We have some owners that come to us and they go, I'm hiring you, don't call me. I'm hiring you to deal with it. I don't want tenant headaches, and that's why I'm hiring you. And if they have an estate on the lake, they may want $1,000 maintenance limit because the pools and jacuzzis and boat docks and all that, you're not getting anything done for under $1,000. We've got other owners that come to us and go, this is my first property. I want to know everything you do. Talk to me about everything. And unfortunately, that is an owner who may need to manage their own property while we are in the business of making people happy and we want to perform. If we contacted them for every $100 repair, we wouldn't be able to do our job. And so we need some freedom to be able to act, but yet still get work done and then have a little bit of appropriate oversight according to the pricing of the economy and what repairs cost. So when we started out in this business over 10 years ago, we started out with about a $250 repair limit. That got increased to about $275 very quickly, and it stayed at $275 and wasn't much of a problem until about 3 years ago. About 3, maybe 4 years ago, I'll say, we had our absolute best vendor tell us they no longer wanted to do business with us. By the time we called the vendor, they scheduled with the tenant, the vendor showed up on site with a truck. They then called us to get approval on something. We reached out to the owner. The vendor had to then leave the property. We then get authorization from the owner who wants a written estimate, more work for that vendor. We get the written estimate to the owner, get their approval, get back to the vendor. Now the vendor has to reschedule with the tenants. Vendor goes back out. If everything works as intended, all of that just for possible $275 repair. So we did some industry research as well to see what other people who are leading people in the industry do for their repair limits. Instead of saying, well, we think this is right, or do we have this in line? Well, let's see what's going on, because a lot of people together make typically a better decision than one or two by themselves. So what we found out by reaching out to the industry is that about a $500 repair limit is a healthy number to be at. Well, why is that a healthy number? Well, between $275 and $500, after we went back through our books, we found that there was only 2 items that consistently came up. One is an AC capacitor in the summertime. The other is cartridges and plumbing work in showers. Neither of those 2 is negotiable. Neither of them is going to save you money if we have to wait and send the technician back the second time. And in fact, they're going to cost you about $75 to $100 more if we have to reschedule, not including the headache that the tenant has to face by going without AC in the summer or hot water in the winter. So there was no benefit whatsoever to keeping the limit below 500. Above that, it's more of a feel-good thing, to be honest with you, than anything else. Everyone wants to have some controls and limits in place, and we want to respect that. We have no desire to spend money beyond what's needed, but we do need to properly maintain the property. So 500 is what we found is a fair limit for this time. If inflation takes root in 5 or 10 years, we may have to update it again, but it served us really well. Again, the repairs that need to be made aren't going to go away. We had one owner this year tell us that they really hope they have a better year next year and better service because they had a lot of repairs. And while it's easy to kind of get offended by that, the truth is that it's a good thing that they had some repairs, because that means that we actually care about the property and we're taking care of everything that needs to be done. If you have a brand new house, it's going to be under a builder warranty. You probably will have 0 in repairs for at least a year. But if you've got a 1920 built house with pier and beam and no insulation and clay pipes all the way to the road, you're going to have repair after repair. And so we've spent a lot of time and labor overseeing repairs for properties that we don't even make money on those repairs. It's just kind of what we do in the balance. And so we're going forward, we're going to be assessing properties a little bit better. We may end up charging some of those 100-year-old property owners a little bit more to manage the maintenance, because it's such a labor-intensive item. But for modern properties, there's no reason that you should expect anything unusual. Everything we do has to be documented. It has to be on the up and up. And so really what you're doing is providing us the ability to give your tenants better service and ensure that they renew their leases more frequently. The biggest cost you're going to have in this entire real estate investing endeavor is tenant turnover. It's an avoidable cost if you can keep your tenants happy. So leasing fees is one thing, vacancy cost is another, but make ready is a huge cost, and the state tells you what is and isn't your expense. So if we can get that tenant to renew even one more time, because we really took care of them, we didn't delay them 4 days getting a bid for an extra $50 in the summer, which cost you an extra 100, we're delivering a much better result for you, productivity-wise, as well as return on investment all the way around. Last thing I would say regarding these is that whether you select 1836 or you select another property manager, trust is the key to any customer service business. If you go to a restaurant and you order a plate of food, you expect that that food's going to be delivered within a reasonable amount of time. It's going to be hot when you get it, and it's going to be safe to eat. And if you're unsure about any of those things, you should probably go to another restaurant. And so while we want you to buy from 1836, we want you to be our partner and really build a relationship with us, the key is to find someone you trust. And I would suggest that if you need to limit your manager because you don't necessarily trust them, spend some time with them. Go visit them at their office, meet their staff, look at their reviews online, see what their history is like, see what their growth is like. Anyone that's abusing their customers is not going to be gaining business ground or having positive reviews. Anyone that's taking care of their customers and clients, offering a great service, and really honoring ethical and moral guidelines is going to be going up in this world. It doesn't matter if you're in dry cleaning or restaurants or the service industry that we're in property management. But trust is a big thing, and it's a big thing on both sides. We want to make sure that we have owners that we're partnered with and that we don't have to consult with every 5 minutes. It's not that we can't, it's that it drives up the cost of labor, which drives up your cost. We want you to have a great service for a good value. And so if we do a lower repair limit, it may be an option, it may not for your property, but the cost would have to go up to cover the added labor. Your performance is going to go down, your tenants are not going to be as happy, and the repair still has to be done. So there's really no benefit to doing so. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into why we set the repair limits the way we do. We certainly hope you choose 1836, but whether it's us or someone else, make sure you have a great relationship with the manager you can trust. That is the most important thing. Hopefully that manager will also deliver some productivity to you so that you can have some great return on your investment. Thanks. Have a great day.